Greetings everyone, the year is 2017 and it's been quite a while since there was a ship comparison for the newbies. And I'm talking about Marauder ships. Everyone wants to know what ship they should get or train for. So what I'm going to do in this series is review all the Marauders and the pros and cons of each one. The level of technical we can get for each one is astronomical. We can go into details and spreadsheets galore. We're just going to do the basics. Here's the ship. Here's how it works. Here's its pros and cons and different fighting different rats and such like that. So we're not going to get too technical. The important lesson to take out of this is there's no best ship. It's what you would enjoy flying the most. It's most important. So with that said, let's begin. Today we are at the end. We're finally, after 4 days of rendering, my computer will be free. It is time to talk about the Kronos. In my opinion, one of the most badass looking ships in the game. It's very cool. You ever fly in Gallente space? Do you ever see Kronoses? Do you ever see Megathrons? Not really. You see dummies all over the place. Well, there's a reason for that. While I have flown the Megathron, the predecessor to the Kronos, many a day in PvP because it's an incredible mean monster. And missions, it's not that good. It's never been good. It's just a pain to use, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have an application in PvE. It does have its uses, and it could fit your playstyle. So let's talk about this sucker. So you have two ways of fitting this thing. You could do blasters, and on paper, if you sacrifice enough tank, you can go well above 3k DPS. I mean, just imagine that for a moment. Up until this point, the other three that we have flown is around the 1k area in DPS. And I'm telling you, this thing could be 3 times that. I mean, isn't that crazy? The downside is to do it, you need to get to like 10 km range. And they can't be moving very fast because of tracking and all that. And to get there, and you spend so much time trying to get there. And when you do, it's like, and it's over. And it's like, well, it died so fast, I didn't even get to enjoy its full glory and DPS. So you have a lot of, you're moving around constantly with this thing if you want to do blasters. You spend so much time burning towards things that it's not very efficient to use in a mission, because if you want to use blasters, you literally are spending all your time flying around. Worse, you can't use your Bastion module. You can't, it's like contradicts the whole purpose of the ship. You want the extra stats you get from using that module, all the extra resistance stuff, but if it roots you in place, you can't go and shoot stuff. So the blaster fit, in my opinion, in PvP, it is incredibly awesome and what you should fit. If there's nothing more that'll make someone butt clench when they see a Megathron show up to their gate camp. I have much respect for this hull, and I love to take it into a gate camp because this is going to take some things out with it. But in the PvE world, doing the level 4 missions, this is my last choice. It's just, while I love this ship, this is the last thing I want to fly. I would prefer a T1 battleship of any other race over buying this and using it in a mission, using blasters. A bit of an outtake, because I've been gone for so long, they added what's called polarized guns. When I was briefly fitting it in this simulator, I'm like, alright, pick the largest gun, done, I pop it on, okay, let me buy the stuff. Well, I didn't read the description of what polarized guns do, and apparently it removes all of your resist. So this was the first time flying this ship. I warp into the mission, I'm like, yeah, the damage is good, and then all of a sudden I noticed my armor. And let me tell you, that got my attention. I was glad to make it out of there alive. But I wouldn't recommend putting that on a very expensive ship. That was almost a bad day there. So knowing that the blaster was going to be fail fit, I had bought rails ahead of time. I only did it to give you a time lapse at that level of pain. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not fun. It is for a few seconds. So I went and refit for the rails and did a mission. And what I noticed about it is, well, you're locked into kinetic and thermal damage only with the Gallente fit. And that's just the way it is. That's how their guns work. But the thermal damage is pretty large profile across all the rats. So you will struggle on some missions, but you can definitely apply it just fine across the board. However, being that the rails bring it back down to 1K, you're really limited in that department. However, you can field more drones than the other ships, so that's a bonus. You can use that to pick up the slack a little bit. As far as range goes, it's fine. You can shoot things pretty far out. Typically, 70-ish is good. What I noticed, however, was once they get close with the rails, you're not hitting it at all. Even with 2 tracking enhancers, it doesn't track very well at all, and it just kills the overall efficiency of using it. While you can use the Bastion module with the rails and pop everything relatively quickly, the things that you don't hit, you're going to have to deal with. And usually you do this with drones because the micro warp drive, it's a bit of a slow ship and it increases your signature radius. And so now you're going to have to use the micro warp drive, the armor repair, while you're trying to burn away and use all this cap. So you have to be mindful of it because these guns are hungry. Overall, I'd have to say out of all the Marauders, of course, this is going to be the worst in terms of PvE efficiency. However, this ship has applications in the running in curses and stuff like that, from what I understand. And if you were to take this into a mission, like in the second or third room of the Worlds Collide, where all the ships are close, there is no ship that can outmatch the speed of which this thing could kill everything in there. If the target and missions are close, everything's within shootable distance, especially large hulls like battleships, this would be a good bring. You could definitely enjoy the lucrative DPS that you can get from the blasters. The rails, however, just in comparison to the others, it lacks the DPS of all the other ones using rails unless you sacrifice tank. Whereas you could use, say, a paladin that is also locked into just 2 different damage types. And you'd have that super tank to make up for it, where you get nothing to make up for it with this other than drone bandwidth. However, drone bandwidth has travel time with the drones, and it takes time. And that's what you're spending using this ship, is time to travel between everything. And the only perk that you get is you kill things super fast when you get close with blasters. With rails, if you fail to hit it, you're going to spend lots of time burning now the opposite direction of the that you would want to go with the blasters. Instead of towards them, you want to go away. It's just a micromanagement hellfest. Can you tell I don't like using this in PvE? Now, there are lots of people that'll be pissed at me and say, oh, it's wonderful, I love it, it's the greatest ship ever. You're absolutely right. If you enjoy flying, and I mean, this takes time and skill and patience, and if you pull everything off just right, I mean, you can pull out some incredible numbers and have a good time. And if that's what you enjoy flying, by all means, don't let my single opinion deter you. It's just, hey, we all have preferences. Me personally, I think it's no fun. However, out of all those, I'd want this to go to PvP with. In fact, I might just do that with it and make a video. Go through a gate camp with this because everyone's going to want a piece of this thing. But it's just, in the PvE world, it's not for me. So, now that I've gone through this little mini rant on this ship and the pain that it has caused me in the PvE world, I'm going to show you a brief time-lapse of a rail fit. And no, I will not give you a time-lapse of a blaster fit, because you shouldn't wish that kind of pain on anyone. No one, damn it, no one. So with that said, I hope this whole series has been informative for you. Just keep in mind, I've been gone for like 5 years. I'm doing this as just a general, hey, here's kind of how these things work. I don't want to get too technical. This whole series has been designed for people just starting. It's like, well, what do these things do? And this is just a simple, display on a shelf. It's like on a lazy Susan spinning around, like, hey, this is how this works. You know what I mean? So, if you want to get the full presentation of each ship, you should Google it. Check out YouTube. There's lots of videos out there. The downside is they're all old, and that's the problem. So at least you have a foundation now to kind of understand what it looks like today. And you can look at some of the older videos, and perhaps they still apply. You'll have to do your research. But at least going forward, you can identify the interest of what you think you might enjoy flying the most. With that said, this has been one heck of a project. I'm glad it's done. And you guys have a great evening.